With a title like "It's Not Just the Economy, Stupid, It's Our Future," it's probably something you're wondering whether or not you really want to get involved in. I think I'm probably wondering whether or not I want to get involved in it. Being that I'm not an economist and don't have an economics background, the economy, or my lack of understanding thereof, has bothered me immensely for a long time. And last year I took a couple of months and read a lot and listened to a lot of videos and news programs. It seemed as though the more I thought I learned, the more confused I became. But I got to a point where I think I got enough, and I put it away, and I went off and did some other things for a month or so. Though all the time that I was doing something else, it seems as though there was something in the murkworks trying to claw its way to the surface. And I finally got to a point of saying, well, if I don't work on this, it's the only working on it is the only way to get it to leave me alone. So, based upon what I'm aware of, the U.S. having a 7.7 or 8% unemployment, and the government running $1 trillion budget deficit every year, though the country is limping its way to recovery, and U.S. corporations sitting on $3+ trillion in cash that they're using for nothing except creating more cash. And it translates to 30 million jobs at $100,000 a year that just don't exist because they're sitting on the cash. And it's just as, and what people say that they want to do to remedy the situation, the whole thing just doesn't connect. I think there's a whole bunch of people dealing from the bottom of the deck someplace and simply expect that stupid people are their best customers. So what I want to try and do for the next month or so is attempt to sort this out from a perspective to figure out if there's an approach to deal with this. And yes, I'm probably beginning with my ignorance showing, but that's all right. It's not the first time. So when I start to think about this, I think about there is in fact a world economy, and there's a U.S. economy that's embedded in the or part of the world economy, and the U.S. economy has a government sector and a public sector and a foreign sector, which is the world economy. It's just considered to be the foreign sector from the U.S. perspective, and those sectors interact. Though if I look at the public sector, there is in fact households and corporate and finance segments inside the public sector. And what I want to do is I want to start in the middle and think about the U.S. economy and then delve deeper into the operation of the U.S. economy in more detail and then expand it to the world economy. So I'm beginning in the middle and going both ways. And the approach to doing this is the same way I approach everything else, is to figure out how to describe the situation, develop understanding, and have that lead to the development of a strategy to address the situation, and a strategy specifically meant to minimize unintended consequences because they tend to make things worse or create new problems. And this particular model, in fact, breaks out into a more detailed model, which I won't belabor at the moment, but it in fact says that we have to understand the situation and the pattern of behavior and develop a model and think about the involved stakeholders and investigate our assumptions, develop leverage points and a strategy for the stakeholders to adopt to create a new model to change the behavior so the situation changes. The approach to this, well, what I've created to this point is there is a discussion which I've invited many of you to join. It's a discussion. The idea of the discussion is it's a place where we can in fact share thoughts with each other. It's like it's the sandbox. And then based upon the comments that we in fact put in the sandbox, and I wonder why this says follow, because every time I go here, I follow this, but then I come back and it says that I'm not following it. I don't follow that. Okay. There's also a wiki page of the same title, which has an embedded co-map. And what the map is used for is to take the comments, the ideas that we throw around in the sandbox, and synthesize them into something that's hopefully more coherent, and also to flush out the individual segments of the model that I presented previously. And this itself is, in fact, all now part of the Adventures in Wonderland model, and it shows up as a systemic strategy example out here. Um, and it will, in fact, the pieces will get linked in as they get developed. So that's sort of an introduction as to what I think is going on at the moment. The piece that's currently being worked on is how is it, what are the dimensions that we employ to describe the situation the way it is? Not to pass judgment on whether or not those dimensions are good or bad. The question is, how do you describe the nature of the situation? I commented in the discussion, if, for those of you who are ancient enough to remember Dragnet, think of Joe Friday's comment, because he always commented just the facts, ma'am. In other words, not suppositions or perspective. I'm looking for actual dimensions that we can, in fact, go find data for so that we can identify the trending of those dimensions over, I don't know, the past 10 years or so. Maybe longer, depending upon what's relevant. So the first part is to look at these dimensions, identify additional dimensions, and begin to identify places where we can in fact link to actual data for those dimensions over the past 10 years or so. So I'll see you in the discussion and in the next video, which will probably take a while. So bye.